It's hell. Hell's freezing over.
Winter's coming.
Because of our president. All right, cool. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Laugh and Death podcast. I am your host for this episode, Dave, alongside, as always, the tall boy himself, Alex.
Hello.
And he only eats everything, Fernie. But today we have a very special guest with us today. We have our resident Game of Thrones expert, Manuel, in the building. Hey, welcome.
What's up, guys? What's up? I'm glad to be here with all of you.
Third guest
Ever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
nice. Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. I kind of want to forget for Frankie, but I'm just kidding.
I love him.
Yeah, but you can never forget him. He's always in your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of YouTube comments like, "Hey, you guys need guests on the podcast." Like, are we not enough for you guys? What the fuck?
Yeah. Then we had an Instagram question towards the last podcast. They were like, "Oh, when's the next guest coming?" And I didn't have an answer. I was like, I don't know, but hopefully some guests will be coming out soon. So.
Yeah. I mean, we did just announce, if you haven't seen it, should have posted a few days ago, we are doing a Game of Thrones podcast, and it's not going to be like a normal Laugh and Death podcast. It's going to actually have its own format where we go through details and facts and just everything Game of Thrones. So if you're as big of a fan as we are, we hope you can join us on that journey because winter is coming.
And if you aren't, you should, because it's a great fucking show.
Yeah.
It's great.
Definitely.
And the books are good too. Read, kids, read.
Yeah.
Or just watch the shows, whatever.
Well, speaking of winter is coming.
This fucking Polar Vortex, dog.
Winter
For
is
real.
Yeah. Right now it's the 29th of January when we're recording this. Right now it's like 40 degrees outside, which is typical for the valley around this time. But yeah, Polar Vortex is coming. So it's just all the cold air from the icebergs melting in the North Pole coming down. So it's just like, where's global warming? I don't know. Our president doesn't know what it is.
You can't not deny global
There's some
warming.
type of weather issue happening. Like,
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, it's happened to me. I got stranded on. There was an accident on the causeway going into Port Isabel. And one time we were stuck like bumper to bumper for, I want to say, like 3 hours. And we were standing out on the street in between the cars as they were on. And it was like extra hot in there. So if you can imagine millions upon millions of cars like on at the same time, all
like
running over
microwave,
200
like,
degrees,
Yeah.
you cannot deny that is impacting the global warming.
Like it's getting hotter every year and it's getting colder every year as well.
You know what's also causing global warming? Cow farts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Methane.
All the methane. It's true, dude. I didn't think so until I actually read an article. And it's like cow farts, all their poop. It's like putting up so much methane in the air that it's like increasing. That's why there's that vegan movement by certain like governments. Like, hey, eat more vegetables so we make less meat. So that won't work in America, but
I'm actually looking forward to that, like Beyond Meat or whatever it's called, like the fake lab meat.
Oh yeah, like the synthetic meat that they get a piece of a cow and they just put it in.
I don't know if they were at CES or like some tech show earlier this year, but they were talking about how like it tasted so real that one of like the vegan bloggers that went to like try out this meat was just like convinced it was real, and they were just like, "What'd you do to me?" Like they were just freaking out because they thought they ate actual meat.
is it like created or like cloned cow meat or what?
I don't know how they do it or what, but it's synthetic meat.
Yeah,
and
what I saw a video on was that it was like a cloned piece of meat from a specific cow, right? That it's been raised like all natural or whatever. So they get the purest type of meat, put it in like this scientific machine, a machine that clones it and grows it. But the meat doesn't come out like this massive piece of steak, right? It's just like a little tiny piece. But what I saw in this video was basically like farmers being outraged because they have their livestock and it's like, oh, they're taking away our business with this cloned piece of meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that is a form of income for other people on a different spectrum. And what scientists are saying though is that at some point we are going to run out of our livestock. That the human consumption of livestock is faster than we can reproduce it.
Well, we're a little overpopulated.
Definitely.
just a little
But
bit.
that's a touchy subject with a lot of people.
You could probably fit the entire. I don't want to say that. Never mind. That's kind of stupid observation. But like, you drive from here to San Antonio. There's a lot of fucking land out there.
Yeah.
Texas is massive. Though.
You can fit other people on Earth.
Wow.
Dude, that's
holy
brilliant.
shit. No, like Texas is so huge. There's a lot of road where it's just land. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's so.
Yeah, but it's kind of the same thing where like it's in the middle of nowhere, so there's nothing. Like you could just be like, yeah, just put all these people there, but there's no water, no shade.
Well, that's why you put all the people there. They die off. You kind of.
I thought you meant like relocate people and be like, yeah.
Dude, that's why I could side with Thanos. I'm like, it's a tough decision, but if I could fix things, I
Snap
would.
of a finger.
I would.
And you have some dope ass jewels and shit.
Dude.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I mean,
Okay.
and also with so many people, that's like it's calling for plague. Like I'm
Right.
surprised we haven't had a plague, guys.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
I
Maybe the weather thing is going to be the thing.
Well,
that-
yeah, because they're fearing that like the ice melting is gonna like bring ancient bacteria or viruses
Actually,
that are
they
stuck in
already
the.
have
Yeah.
ancient, like thousands of year old bacteria frozen in the North Pole that they're afraid for it to
I've
get
never
loose.
fucking heard. That is
It's
insane.
It makes
Same.
sense now that I.
And then,
if you,
and then
when you say it, someone
adding
says
the
it.
like anti-vax movement, like the whole like anti-vaccination thing,
Is it
like
helping?
measles are like coming up again in major cities because their moms are just like, no, you're not gonna vaccinate my kid because it's autism. It's like, yeah, they're gonna get fucking measles and polio. I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. And there's been outbreaks like I think there's one in Denver recently.
With the measles, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
At a fucking basketball game.
A bubonic plague's coming back too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
I think it's in certain like the darker corners of like India, I think Bangladesh, like in those areas
I
they're
need to
finding
get
it.
cultured. I don't follow like world news.
Don't do it. It's harsh.
Dude, we live great in the U.S. and even though we're like where we live is considered like backward U.S., we still live like kings, like compared to other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, we're not Canada cool, but you know,
It's Canada because we smoke weed.
Yeah. we don't
One
pay for
day, I
healthcare.
mean, everyone's trying to I feel like more and more states are coming out as like they're legalizing everything. Not everything. They're legalizing marijuana for medical and then even recreational use is coming out.
So you
I
say
say they
that.
should do it.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
say that, but like this past, I think Monday, North Carolina, the what is it? The attorney, no, there's like the main doctor for the state of North Carolina was just saying like, marijuana is like the worst drug available in the market right now, like because they want to stop the whole medical marijuana thing.
Yeah, but for one doctor like that, they can get you like 20 that say the opposite.
Yeah, but he's like the main guy putting all the rules in place.
Oh, he's the doctor. He's the Earth doctor.
yeah.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, anyways, but yeah, it's, I don't know. Yeah, Polar Vortex, fucking cold.
So is global warming the reason why? I don't know if it's just me, but I see a bunch of like dead bees everywhere and dead birds. Does that
it could
correlate to each other?
It could also be that, or it could be like there's something where like antennas and radio signals are messing up whatever navigational thing they have in their heads, like, or magnetic fields can affect them.
There's so many factors. I
Yeah.
mean, pollution.
But I've seen birds, like dead birds everywhere, like in parking lots and just randomly, like in my backyard. I found like a dead bird. I'm like, nothing attacked it. The body looks intact.
I'm all thinking brujeria. I'm like, dude.
No, okay,
I've
so
never seen a dead bird.
dude, like Saturday night when I got home from work, I'm walking up, right, like exhausted, and I look up on top of my garage, and there was a fucking brown owl about 2.5, maybe 3 feet tall, and he was sitting straight up, and I was staring at it, and it like it turned, and then it like started to like move its arms, and I started freaking out, and it just like took off.
Jeepers creepers.
How many
Dude,
days ago?
It was huge. It was on Saturday.
You might hear someone getting sick in your family. I'm not kidding, dude. Every time I seen a bird, someone gets sick.
I don't believe in this shit.
I know.
Don't
No, I'm the crazy cookie one. Like
I
no
don't
one has
believe
to
in
me.
Ojo. I believe in Ojo because I'm really cute. But I don't believe in like the whole like, oh yeah, rub it on your body. All this. I don't believe in anything.
The
like that
egg.
shit. And but like you,
That shit's done. They've done that to me in San Luis. Every time I go, they'll. My mom says they want to curar, like they're gonna cure me, or
Sí.
whatever, and from susto and all that stuff. And I've done it like to where, like at midnight, my grandma has taken me to like a neighbor lady's out up in the mountains, like go through a fucking dark trail with just a little flashlight and shit. She's knocking on this fucking wooden like shack. She's like, "Hey, my nephews are, my grandchildren are here to get cured and stuff." And this old lady wakes up, like can barely walk without a cane and stuff, and she has like these herbs and stuff. And
they hit you with them.
yeah, on my sides like that, and then she has like a specific like oil that's mixed with like marijuana leaves and like all kinds of herbs and stuff. and she puts it all over my arms, and she grabs my head, and she goes, she's like, I'm gonna call your name, and then I want you to say, aquí estoy, here, I'm here. She's like, Alejandro, vente, and I have to say, aquí estoy, Alejandro, vente. She's like,
Do you think that worked? Do you feel it?
No, well, it's because she was like, they asked me, are you fearful of anything? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm fearful of anything. I was like, I think I'm just thinking about the future too much, like fear towards my future. Okay, we can fix that.
But you said they had like marijuana like in the oil. She's
Yeah.
probably all fucking high and just like, yeah, dog, come here, let me touch you.
Suck this chiche.
It's like a 40-minute thing, but I like it though. Like it's comforting.
Well,
Yeah.
and like spirit, like that type of like deep spiritual curación is like they're kind of like calling the courage from within you to like come out. That's why she's calling your name. So she wasn't calling any other names. Like
No, I think that she's done that
No,
with
she
people
did.
who lose a loved one or something, and they see them in their real world. They call their name so they can go into the spiritual world and leave this real world, leave the real plane, so they don't see them, so they don't see them in an illusion. Because I have cousins who've told me that they'll see their younger brother who had passed away or whatever, and they can't get over it. But when they get cured,
yeah, it goes away.
it
I
goes
saw
away.
this one thing on like National Geographic or something like that. Maybe it was Taboo, where it was like somewhere in India where they had like a witch doctor, and the witch doctor would open a person's eye and he would stick his tongue in their eye.
What?
Yeah, and like he was like, oh yeah, and it cures migraines. It does this, and I'm like, that's fucking disgusting.
Like magic
Or
saliva
is it
stuff.
kinky?
No, but you know what? There's been a case where like there was this doctor, I think Brazil or Argentina, I don't remember. He would stick like ice picks in people's brains. I'm not kidding, in their skulls. There's videos, dude. And he would be hammering away and like taking it out, and they would be cured. They could start seeing. So I mean, there's some.
But like through what? Through their eyes or like?
You would see him like hammer the shit through their skull, man, and you would see him like banging the hammer on the nail. They're like getting moved around, and he'd pull it out, and they could see out of the eye they couldn't see out of before.
There's like a blockage he's getting or something.
So that, I mean, do people have like certain abilities sometimes? I mean, not like, I'm not talking X-Men, but like they have like, say, a mastery over their own, like,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
energy to like
They understand the body and they
yeah.
Yeah, but on the flip side, there's like those like Baptist churches where like they touch you and you faint and you're like, oh my god, like I can walk now, and stuff like that. Like I've heard of stories of people saying like, I went in there because I felt a certain way and like he touched me and like I still felt like shit, but I was just like in the moment I was like, oh, I'm cured. Or they really do have actors that go and like, oh, you're in a wheelchair, and then like they touch them and like, oh, they can walk again, and they're like, oh my god. So like there's some like, yeah, like
Just charlatans.
yeah, they can just play the people, and like even though they know it's bullshit, they're just like in their heads they're like, no, I have to believe, because if I don't believe, it's not gonna come true, and they just act like it is true.
That is why Christianity scares the shit out of me. And perfect segue into my topic. I know it's a broad spectrum, but I wanted to get y'all's perspective. I was raised Catholic. I'm a non-practicing Catholic. I feel like I'm all around good guy, good person.
Not debatable.
I'm a little bit of an asshole, but I'm not like Ten Commandments. I'm like, hey, that's pretty good to me. Like I can live by that, you know. And I mean, I don't do things where I have to go ask for forgiveness, because I feel like I've always been like a well-rounded person. Had a great upbringing. But it brought a conversation up that I had a while back. Was, do you think that Judeo-Christianity, which is the whole concept of like Jesus Christ and stuff like that, back at its origin, had anything or everything to do with the way civilization is now? Like, do you think things had to get so bad where he had to sacrifice himself? The Son of God had to sacrifice himself to instill this like positive, I don't know what kind of
The building blocks to be
to being
all
a great
good people, or
Well, the building blocks of Western civilization.
Western civilization. Yeah, like we are modern. We are not Neanderthals. We're not like we're a common, I guess, culture where we don't argue, we don't fight unless it's political, whatever. But do you think that because of Judeo-Christianity, we have modern civilization now?
Yes.
You do?
In the West.
I also have. I want to say I have this point where if we're stripping away these ideologies and all these things, and we're just animals, as what our primitive selves really are. When I've seen like video surface of like a different species of animal seeing another animal like without its mother, like a baby cub of something, and it's like two different species, and it goes for it and protects it and raises it itself, like that right there could be like the purest form of like this is another living thing on this world that we're in, like
unconditional love.
Yeah,
but I think that's rarer than what a natural animal instinct would be. I mean, if a snake saw a baby rat, I doubt that snake's gonna say, "All right."
Yeah, well, because I mean,
rat.
there's different classes of what eats what to survive. But as far as like,
Well, because and what he's talking about too, that happens a lot with like chimpanzees and apes in general. They'll kind of, if they lose a child, they'll go adopt another little baby
to be like their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I guess what I'm saying is like maybe in the most primitive way, like maybe these first things could have been the characteristics of like, you know what, let me take care of another living thing first and be good to it because we're both living here. But of course, yeah, there's going to be animals that eat other things to survive, but that's a different.
But so you're saying that? Do you think it would have happened naturally, or do you think that we needed that sacrifice?
No, I think we needed some type of because there's so many factors and so many different ways of thinking in all times now back then that I think we did need something to lay down some type of outline to be like, okay, don't fucking kill, or like don't do this, or you can, you know what I mean, this is fine, this is right. But because I would like to say I'm agnostic.
Well, and I'm a believer, so I think like the reason like Jesus' sacrifice happened was because I think we were ready to be more civil to one another and to be more forgiving to one another. Because we've already developed as a people, like in general. Because remember, at the time, it was like paganism, like galore in the Roman Empire. The northern barbarian tribes, I don't think they did human sacrifices, but they didn't give a fuck if they killed somebody else. There was a certain kind of like barbarism still around, and now we're ready for the next level. We're ready to be almost like civil. Of course, what happened to Christianity after that, like 200-300 years after, it got warped, and the whole sense of the way was kind of like tarnished due to the organizations and the crusade. That was a lot later too, but like say just that the certain churches, the way they established. But I really think it was necessary for Western civilization to be as it is now. So I do.
But do you believe that it would have happened naturally had it not happened?
No, I don't think so. I think the reason why is because it was such an inclusive force that everybody was able to join it. And what did it do? It went to all the most wretched people in every culture in Europe and in the Middle East at that time. So like a poor person in, say, Gaul or France and a poor person in Syria, they were still considered loved the same by that Christian group, as opposed to without that unifying force, they would be considered dogs from their own people. You see what I mean? So that movement brought people together. They later manipulated to be more powerful. Like, well, since I'm the king, God picked me, so screw you, poor person.
So then, because like another, I know you want to chime in, really.
Sorry,
let me just finish my point. It's just, well, not my point, but we talked about slavery briefly, but like, what were the Pilgrims? Catholic or Christian?
They're just Christian.
Protestant.
Yeah.
So why couldn't they treat their fellow man as equals? Why did it take so long for them?
The same reason it is now, where like we see all these bunch of like Christian people, and I say it in air quotes because it's just because it's like, oh, you're gay, then you're less than human. Like this is an abomination, and like recently there's this actor from the show Empire. He got attacked in Chicago by some like white Christians that called him homophobic slurs, and like were like, oh, you're black, so you're also less than a person. Like
they try to put a rope around his neck.
Yeah, like it was
literally try to put a rope around his neck.
Yeah, and they use this the whole mantra of like being Christians, and like the whole the West Baptist Church, like they're just like a hate group disguised with Christianity, like saying that they're a church. And it's the same thing where like, yes, Christianity was great at the time, where it's just like it's a message of love and acceptance and stuff like that. But if you're not a Christian, you're doing it wrong. And it's not like, okay, you believe in whatever, if something else, then that's cool. No, you have to believe in what you have to believe. And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with every other religion, where like if you don't believe in Islam, then you're less than, or other religions.
Where does everybody stand?
Also,
I'm Catholic.
Raised Catholic. My parents are Catholic, but now, agnostic.
Same with Alex.
I think
I was raised Catholic. I'm kind of Episcopalian. I'm what you call Catholic light. Like I don't kind of I can feel the fish too. No, I'm kidding. No, and also I'm not about the certain rules or being tied to like say the Vatican per se. I'm not anti-Vatican, but and because I actually did a lot of reading for myself. But to go to whose point was it really quick saying okay, so Christianity actually does allow you to practice another religion. They just pray for you. If you go into the old readings, if you're not, I'm not saying governments, I'm saying the actual way. Like it even says, like if someone is not your religion, pray for them and wish them well, and that's it. Yeah, like you leave them alone. You don't beat, or you were never supposed to beat or torture or hurt anybody for them not believing in God.
It just shifted into the hate-filled,
absolutely
Christian thing that we see now. And I'm not saying all Christians are hateful or anything, but they use that as a thing to like push their ideology of hate towards other people. But
why? You have the whole concept of Christianity
they don't
because
care.
they're not following the way.
They don't care. It's a thing where like you can just use if it was something different, like if it was like, oh, you've seen Santa Claus before, then they use that against you. Like I've seen Santa Claus before, you haven't, so you're a piece of shit. Like they would just use anything to be hateful. And they use that as a thing to like fall back on. It's like, oh, I'm not doing it. It's because it's our God wants us to do this. Like,
see, I like him. He's anti-bigot. That's awesome, man. No, for real, he's absolutely right.
As far as like the whole pilgrim thing, like or like Europeans colonizing the Americas, or like the Spanish going towards the Tainos and stuff like that, I think is coming from a place of like they come here, they see the natives of the Americas. They're like, you know what? We can do we're so much more advanced in a way of thinking. We can do so much more with this land. They don't even know what they have, like because the natives they were a simple people, right? So they're like, we can do much more with this. Like, why aren't we gonna attack and create something better? Not to say that I'm with them, but like I think that was the thought. It wasn't like how you said, why can't they just be good to people? Like,
and also Northern Europeans at the time and like Puritans, they didn't want to mix with, especially a race from across the ocean that was, running around in, grass skirts or what have you. Like, they were like gross. Like, I'm not going to let that touch me. As opposed to Southern Europeans, like the Spaniards, they got it on with every Aztec woman they could find. What's up?
Yeah. And
that's why, look at us. Like, we're all Mexican and we look so different because of all the blending, like from Spain and everything.
And it's that thing of like, back at the Pilgrim Day, it was just colonization after colonization. Like, it was just like, was the whole new world thing. Like you go into a brand new land and like as far as you know it's free, like like nobody's in charge of this thing. And it helped, and it didn't help that I guess at that point like it wasn't like cities and stuff like that they can go to and be like, okay, this is a city already, we can't touch it. Like they didn't give a fuck. It's just like, hey, this is brand new real estate. Let's fucking get
and they had power.
Okay, fast forward to the 1800s. I don't know the exact 14
of what
1492. Like, no, not 1492. Abraham Lincoln. What year was he in? I'm so stupid.
18-something.
1800. Well, it was in the 1800s. But let's fast forward then. All right, you have Christianity that it's still going on, and there was slaves. Why? You see, and I can't, like, because we're gonna after this segment, I want to fast forward to 2019. Why? Why is Christianity still so corrupt and disruptive and stuff like that? So let's go back to Christianity in the 1800s.
I just think it's a thing of power. It's not. It's not.
I don't think they're together specifically.
So the power and the slavery.
People of power would use religion.
Christianity with slavery. What I'm saying is like they have their beliefs, but they're also like, well, we have all this. We have such giant workload to create, and they're thinking of a better future for this enterprise that they've already taken away from the natives. They're like, all right, we need people to build. They're not gonna fucking do it because of power, because they think of themselves as a higher class. But yeah.
So what were you saying? Like, what happened with Abe Lincoln?
Just the whole
like
the slavery.
Like, why did slavery have to happen?
I mean,
Like,
there's the whole
they're
economic
men.
argument, but
They're men. They're on this earth. It's everyone is created
because
equal.
of like two phrases in the New Testament that they used. There's one that says like, if you're a slave, then be obedient to your master. Because when it was being taught at the time, it was basically telling people like, look, love God and do your thing. You know what I mean? If you're a soldier, listen to your general. If you're whatever, do your job, keep your nose clean and be kind to everybody. These assholes, they like changed it. Say, oh, you see, it says if you're a slave, you gotta love your master. So get to the tilling, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You
They took away there was honor with it, and they took away that.
They took
from
exactly like anything.
and separated in class.
Anything that was considered good or honorable, man corrupts.
And
Man finds an advantage and it exploits it.
And even before then, it was the whole thing of like the peasants couldn't read the Bible. You had to go to mass, and it was in Latin, and you had to know Latin and all this stuff. And then it wasn't until I forget his name,
Luther.
Martin Luther, that the printing press came about, and he translated everything and gave it to the peasants, and it was like, here, this is the word of God and the way it's supposed to be. Like, you don't have to go listen to these people talk down on you and tell you what it is. And it's a thing also of like, yes, it's a power thing that corrupts, and religion, with the whole like doing the whole like you obey your master, like in the Bible. Like, it wouldn't be in the Bible if power wasn't a thing. Like, it was just been like, okay, like everybody's equal and blah blah blah, and that's it.
It's like a trickling down of corruption, like just
Exactly.
going through the seams and the cracks of like somebody somewhere else is saying like, like some sinister fucking person has a different thought of like, no, that's
and it's
wrong
like
thing.
anything. It's like the damn ice cream man, right? He wants to just sell ice cream to kids to make them happy, but you get that one creepy fuck that wants to kidnap them and chop them up. You know what I mean? There's always always something. You know what I mean, guys? Like,
He has the extra fucking refrigerator for the bodies and shit. Yeah,
it's like you're gonna have to get down in there. To get your ice cream cone.
Reach for the fucking gumdrop bubble gum.
But back to I mean, they just wanted cotton. They were assholes in the South.
Okay, well, let's fast forward to 2019 and how evangelicals or whatever Christians
because-
and certain Christian groups are pro-Trump. Not pro-Trump, but like
I don't know how they're pro-Trump. I don't know how they're pro-Trump.
Because it gives their base the power. That's the thing. Most of them are Republican, and if the Republican president is a piece of shit, it doesn't matter. He's still Republican.
But he can do no wrong.
But he's
and
not
that's
even
what-
a Republican. I'm sorry, that's a whole other conversation. But he's not even acting like a Republican.
No, but that's just the name on there. Like,
Exactly.
It's just the name. It's a Republican person. Like, it doesn't matter if he's acting like a Republican or acting like a human being, like a good Christian. He's just like, yeah, that's my guy because he's my guy. Like, there's no thinking about it. There's no like, well, we can let go of some things if he does this, and like, and yes, he's doing a lot of favors to them because he banned transgender people from the military, or like he wants to re-input that, and they want him to pass anti-abortion laws. Like, if they get what they want, they don't care who's in power. Like, it could be fucking Satan for all they care, and if they do what they want, they don't fucking care.
It will be Satan later.
It is.
I'm not kidding. If they read Revelation, Satan comes out. But
no, Hillary Clinton's not running again in 2020, so we're good.
Okay, but like you have these religious groups that believe that he was put on this earth to do what he's doing in the White House.
You see, and that's where it is tricky, because if you want to, believe everything from God has a reason, well, then there's a reason. You know what I mean? There's a reason he's here. Like, I don't like the man. You know what I mean? I don't agree with him. But that's where they manipulate. Like, well, he's God's anointed. He's president of the United States.
It's kind of the same thinking of like people who look at their horoscope and then it'll say, oh, the daily horoscope, it says you will find this. We'll make a connection in our head to put the piece of our life, make it make sense. Like, oh, that's why that bird flew across my face. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we just want to make sense of things. It's just like with those people, I think.
Yeah, but it's more of an ideology within Christianity and Judaism. I think even Islam has the same thing where, like, if there's a leader in power, he's ordained. Like, there's a reason, like, God put him there, especially the leaders, like kings and stuff. But then what people forget is he punishes countries by putting shitty leaders. So they would go back and read their Bible, they would see, oh, maybe we're being punished for having a shitty leader.
No, but it's that thing where like he can serve on a plate of shit and he's like, oh, chocolate, and they know it's shit.
You're so right, dude. You're on it today, man.
Yeah, and like it doesn't help when you have Mike Pence as a president, like super homophobic, like anti-gay,
Electrocutes them.
yeah.
Scared of women.
And then using fucking Bible verses to justify putting kids in fucking cages, why do this one thing that's supposed to be love and acceptance and like love your neighbor, help the poor, blah blah blah, translate into it's okay for you to justify putting kids in cages, making.
Why are they using Christianity to do that though?
Because Christianity is power.
I can't get past the power part because on a human nature. Well, there you go.
They don't fucking care.
Full circle. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Full circle.
And if you want to get like meta spiritual about it, it's the thing is like the church has been already corrupt and infiltrated from the inside by demonic forces. Like there's people that really believe that.
Illuminati, bro.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I don't know how to transition out of this.
Well, look, like we had a little debate about like slavery, right? Mm-hmm. And like where it came from. So what do y'all think? Like how? I mean, in general, because some people think it's like it's from only one race to another, but it's a lot older than that.
Yeah, definitely. I always like to relate things towards a more primitive, simple time. Like the times when like I was really into skateboarding when I was younger, and I haven't skated as much. But like,
wait, hold on, sorry. What is like you talking about primitive stuff? Always comes back to skateboarding for some reason.
Because it's so easy to make the connection. Because like when I skateboard with my friends and somebody does a fucking trick, my friend's like, "Ooh!" It's screaming and shit, right? And then it's just like our primitive selves. Like when one of our caveman cousins jumped off a rock, we're like, "Holy fuck, you could have died!" Right? You know what I mean? So like, it was probably all the way to the point where like. There was these two fucking caveman dudes, and like one of them just was stronger, and like a little the same. They're brothers or something. Or like the one's just stronger, and he's like, "Hey, go fucking get me that stick." You know what I mean? Like go get the fire, the stick, the sticks for the wood for the fire and shit. You make the fucking fire, and then it just kind of like, wait, what the fuck? Like,
if you don't, I'm gonna fucking beat your shit.
Yeah, it probably some shit like that, or I mean. That's me thinking of like how can I break this down in the most primitive, simple way? Like that's where it's starting.
And I think you're onto something because like as humans we're animals, right? So I think there is that instinct for especially men, we have to dominate other people. Like it's just we have this thing like in sports, video
fucking
games,
Uno.
whatever. Yeah,
I'm just like fucking
Uno, like draw one, draw two, draw three, turn again, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, holding that card that you're gonna fuck the next person up. Like, oh, I'm fucking excited about that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So I think, and a lot of people in power, they get there through history. You know, they read their history and they've read like almost every great empire was built on slaves, all of it. Like Romans, Greeks, the Persians, the Chinese, like everybody had slaves. So that was...
Yeah.
And who did the Chinese enslave? Their people?
They had other people. Well, they would enslave a lot of the Southern Asian and also themselves.
They have like the whole Chinese Taipei and Hong Kong and maybe I'm talking about out of my ass, but like they took over a lot of areas. So it would make sense if they used slavery to build their empires. And like even today, like the modern slavery, like it's kind of a thing where, yes, there's still slavery in the traditional sense of like somebody owning somebody else. But it's also think of like, hey, you want a payday loan? I'll give you $300 if you pay me back $400. You're like, okay, that doesn't sound that bad. And then you're always in a cycle of debt. And that's what it was when after slavery was abolished in the United States. It was, yeah, you're free and I'm going to pay you for your work, but I'm only going to pay you just enough for you to rent a room in my house to work in my field. And like that's what things happen now. And then I was listening to this podcast earlier, and they were talking about like a lot of people are afraid of automation, like taking away a bunch of jobs and stuff. But nobody talks about like the self-checkout line at Walmart or like Target or whatever. You're basically working for the fucking company by bringing out your stuff, and that's one person they don't have to pay. And if they have 4 machines, that's 4 people they don't have to pay.
And then they have how many cash checkout lines? Like 30?
And only 2 of them are open.
Asshole.
The cigarette line and the one next to the cigarette.
Yeah. And it's that kind of shit where like companies now, like, yes, they don't have slaves. They might have some slaves like in other countries where they pay them like $1 a week or whatever. But it's that kind of shit where like, yeah, they're getting paid, so they're not technically slaves, but
It's serfdom.
yeah.
That's what Europe
and
did.
it all just also goes back to the power thing, and like maybe not looking at slavery as like a wrongdoing on another person, but as a tool, which is like an axe at the time was a tool to make something more convenient for you to break down wood to make a fire.
Right.
And using another human being as a tool to make your empire or to make your house, to collect this, to do that. Like, I mean, but even at those times, it was like I said, like not even to get into Game of Thrones on this right now, but like the whole thing, like, I will serve you, my lord. Like, it's like an honorable thing, but they just took away the whole honor to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's fealty like that, like my lord, and then you have like slavery.
Yeah.
Because in Game of Thrones, when you go to Essos, it's all slaves. But that's for another conversation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And speaking of like government and like slavery and stuff, I want to talk about the China corner. This is my segment where I talk about China because I always have to talk about China.
He's the plug on shit happening over in
Tell
China.
us.
That
Well,
ages.
you know how we last podcast ago we talked about how China has this new like credit system where like if you're a good citizen, you get better credit and you get better loans and stuff like that.
Like a point system.
Like a point system, yeah. Well, they introduced this thing, and they have like a social media app that's everywhere in China. It's called Weibo or something like that. It's kind of like the Facebook and Twitter of China.
and that's the only one allowed, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
only allow that one.
And they have this feature now where it's like a radar, and you can see people around you that are in debt. So, say like you owe like $10,000 to the bank or whatever, but I see you buying a brand new TV. I can be like, you know what, this motherfucker is buying a brand new TV.
Like another citizen can.
Yeah, and you get more points if you write out your
Oh my
fellow citizen.
Super police state, dude.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So it's just like to prevent, because China has this big population boom. Well, I don't say boom, but like they have this large population, small area, and their GDP is growing like fast. And to prevent it from like crashing, what they're doing is like people that are in debt, we don't need them. Like we can put them in jail or whatever. Like that's the way they're gonna get rid of that problem. And if like yeah,
Oh
like
my God.
if you can buy something and you're in debt, like I can see you're in debt, like it'd be like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Like pay your shit first, and then buy yourself something.
And
you
then
know?
it helps you out. You get rewarded by
Yeah.
your government, and it, dude, that's so freaking
Dude,
insane. Like that's a
hell no.
crazy way of thinking to instill that onto your
Yeah.
people. Oh my God.
And now they have an emperor, so it's like
Yeah.
Xi Jinping's never leaving.
Yeah. And it's that thing where like I was thinking about it the other day, like Vladimir Putin and like this guy, Chinese emperor or president, like they can do whatever the fuck they want, and us, like we reset like every 4 or 8 years. Like we go one way and they're like, nope, going the other way, and like we're just stuck in the middle, and they could just stick to one agenda. And I'm not saying it's a good like thing. Like I don't want a dictator in the United States or anything.
But are they getting results?
I mean, it depends on what kind of results you want. If you want a fucking
Yeah.
super state that's just like controlling of everything you do, then yeah, they are.
Is there a middle ground between us and that? Do you think we'll find this leader role or leadership?
I think we just have to have people like, because there's no compromise now. There's not like it's just Republican and Democrats, and they have completely different
I agree. I hate that by parties.
ideologies. So we needed some, and like people are like, oh, we need a third party, whatever. It's like I don't think it's gonna work. As much as I want it, like I don't think it's gonna work. We have to find something that's good for everybody. Like you want a space program, we want to do something in space. Let's all make sure both parties are in this one thing, and then from there we can work our way down to social issues that are more divisive.
Or you know what? They should have an age limit on senators and presidents, and they should have like a term limit on senators, because some of those efforts are there for decades, and they're just being bought by lobbyists. So nothing for the people gets moved forward. It's always like their agenda first. So it's like, you know what? Coal mines will be profitable in Virginia, so I'm going to make sure we don't pass the Clean Air Act. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I hate that, like especially that thing where it's just like, yeah, we're gonna save 500 coal jobs, but if we switch over to clean energy, we're gonna make like, thousands more. And they're like, no, I think 500 weighs more than like 1,000 more jobs. I'm like, I don't think that it works that way, but like, no, but I'm getting money for it, so yeah.
Yeah, and then they're old, and then they die, and they don't give a shit. And that's why
the
there should
estate to their heirs, and then they.
Like Beto O'Rourke posted on his social media, like when he was going after Ted Cruz, that Ted Cruz's income was like I think it was like 170,000. That's what he's making as a senator. But how is he valued at $4 million?
His wife.
I thought it was because of all the money that he was getting from.
I mean, that's also it. But
His wife's like a big shit at Merrill Lynch.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, and
Like,
also that guy, that turtle-looking motherfucker, McConnell. He's like his wife is she's like a big shit. Like her family's like big shit in China. And that's why he has so much money. So he doesn't give a fuck. Like he's just like, yeah. I mean, that's a guy that shouldn't give a fuck about like special interests and stuff like that. But he's like, more money for me? Fuck it. Give it to me.
Yeah, they're out of touch with the common person.
It's the monies.
And you see that the ex-CEO of Starbucks wants to run for president now as an independent. And Democrats are just like, no, dude, that's how you're going to get Trump elected again. Because people that don't want to vote Republican, yes, they might vote for him. But it's also a lot more people that are like, you know what? The Democratic Party is a little too extreme right now. Let me just go for the moderate. And they can take votes away. And the more votes you take away from Democrats, Republicans vote in bigger numbers than Democrats to begin with. So they're going to get like Trump elected again if somebody else runs. Which it's shitty, but that's the way it has to be for right now.
I don't think it's ever changing.
No.
The electoral college is never changing. I wish they'd get rid of it. I wish they'd abolish it because it's an old concept. Everything's changed. And you realize that all the people that were voting in those rural counties are uneducated, like hick people.
Yeah,
There's
I wouldn't. There's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between like college educated and like educated, in another sense. Like,
I'm not saying to put down the people that are living in those counties, but I'm just saying like studies show that the people in those counties were uneducated.
yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying in general. Sorry.
But to piggyback on that, David, the reason why they did vote for Trump because they saw him on TV, man. They saw him on The Apprentice, so they thought he was a cool dude.
Publicity.
No, dude, and he is the king of publicity. Like that guy knows how to work
Any publicity
television,
is good publicity.
yeah, magazines, all of it. Donald Trump does. So all these underexposed people just saw his face and they voted for him. And then they put like the devil with Hillary Clinton, like we said earlier, right? Uh-huh. So they were like, well, I'm a good Christian. I got to vote for Donald Trump because he's Republican. And Republican equals Christianity.
And it's also that shit where like...
Which is not true, right? But
it's also that shit where like, he had a lot of help during the election from Russian. And
yes,
that they U.S. intelligence officials are saying like, we need to step up our security because Russia and China now are going to be playing both sides. Like, our election is going to be so fucking messy. Like, the coming election is going to be so fucking messy because China and Russia, they're going to throw their hat in the ring and be like, all right, let's try to get somebody elected that nobody fucking wants.
Yeah, and that's my biggest fucking beef. It's like, all these Republicans are hardcore American, right? Like love your country, son of a bitch, right? But then Trump might be in cahoots with Russia, dude. Like, I was born in the 70s, okay? So I lived through the whole Cold War, like Rocky 3, man. Like, we were in line to watch that Russia versus America. And now it's like, you hear some of these guys saying, I'd rather be Russian than Democrat.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck happened to us?
And there was that shit where, like, 4th of July, fucking American Independence Day, where that's cold-blooded Americans should be celebrating. Fucking Republican senators went to Russia to get their marching orders. And everybody's like, nah, they just went to go hang out. Oh, of all days, you're going to go hang out in Russia at the 4th of July. Fuck you.
I hear Russia's beautiful in July.
Nice.
That's what they did. Bam. No, so on a super ultra lighter note, I want to get into this because if anything, I like watching this stuff on my Instagram and on my feed and stuff, which is like oddly satisfying videos of like popping pimples and weird lumps and like I also like seeing people get hurt and breaking their bones and stuff, and like seeing people get dislocated and like getting them popped back into place and stuff. I like watching stuff like that. What are y'all's take on that?
Popping boils is my number one. Like, I want to see that big, massive boil, and the surgeon goes in there with syringes and scalpels and takes everything out, and it's awesome.
I like how like you've seen the Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yes.
Sandra Lee?
Yes.
How
she's great.
How she like on the show like takes it out and plays with it. She's like, look at this beautiful thing. And the clients are kind of like...
She has like a face mask so like it doesn't splatter on her.
Yeah, she's prepared.
Yeah.
She has like the whole Dexter setup, right? Like plastic everywhere. No, she doesn't.
I mean, it kind of speaks to like everybody's morbid curiosity of like gross shit, because she just started like her shit on Instagram, right? Like sharing little videos here and there, and like now she has her own fucking TV show, and people are just like,
she has a few million followers on YouTube also. That's where she started, was on YouTube, and then she does like the little segments on Instagram.
And also on the show, this is what my girl told me, I don't know how credible it is, but that the clients that do go on there, they don't have any expenses for the surgery or for
that's nice.
the flight out and stuff, so they get taken care of. But we were saying how like, but you have to be on like on TV
National
with
television.
a massive lump on your head.
I do it.
I was
like,
say,
hey, she took this lump out of my face.
But
What's
like,
up?
we're finding it like pleasurable, and we're like, oh my god! And these people are like, you changed my life, like sobbing and shit, you know?
Yeah,
All
to
these
us it's just this
freak
gross,
shows.
this freak show gross stuff.
It's like
You're
a gross beauty if you think about it.
Fuck, and then to them it's just like life changing.
Yeah. It's like seeing there's some there's just like a bunch of pus, like, or how do you call it?
Pus.
Yeah, pus.
Pus just like pouring out of it, like it's like nonstop, and like it's just intense, like all kinds of different. How people say, oh, I just let it just kind of like kept going, and I guess they never had an opportunity before to get it taken care of before this show or something.
Prior to this being like normal stuff, I was always on like the dark side of YouTube, where I'm always like looking up like brown recluse bites, like when they have to pop them, and it's like bits of their nerves and stuff like that that's coming out. It looks like worms, and it's just like a little bump has a lot of stuff in it for your skin to raise. It was just so satisfying to watch all that.
I want to see that
curd
one.
come out.
I remember
it's so disgusting. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I remember watching Tosh.0, and like he had this like one where it's a guy's back. He had like a boy on his back, and he just somebody like popped it, and it just kept like flowing out.
Oh yeah.
And that was like the first time I've seen something like that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, they can't be real. Like, they can't be real. And then just seeing more and more stuff like popping up around that time, just like, oh shit.
You wouldn't believe like
this is a
that
fucking.
No, I like when they go in 2 or 3 times. Like they do the initial cut, and then it's like, okay, that's wave 1. Like, let's go deeper. And then they go in again, and it's like wave 2, and like, yes.
Or like, what do y'all think about where there's this show called Botched on? I think it might be TLC as well.
Yeah, it's probably TLC.
Yeah. It's like where people go through plastic surgeries to modify the way they look, whether it be like they don't like how their nose looks, or they want a fatter ass, or they have shit like crazy stuff like that, and like, or just some people who like just modifiers is what they call them. Like they want horns or something. They want to look like more like a lizard, and then they split their tongue and all that stuff. Like, but as far as like, I guess just like there was this guy who was like 13 years old. And he appreciates women's curves and all that stuff, but he's a really thin, skinny guy, and he just wants to he says like, I want to have a big old ass, like, and he's gay, and he's just like, I want to have a big old ass, and like, and I think he was talking to his parents, and his dad was just like, you can't just do a bunch of squats or something, you know what I mean? He's like, no,
it's Dad, like, no, I want it now.
Yeah, like I'm bony and like I'm super skinny, like I don't have the genes for it or whatever, right? Pun intended. and so yeah, he just wants like a massive ass, but then I think he goes through surgery and he's not pleased with how it looks, and they just gave all this money into it, you know what I mean? Invested all this money into it. But what about stuff like that, like people who modify their?
So in Botched, to like mess up the surgeries, like they come out like deformed, or
there's some that they take surgeries, like people who've already done surgeries, and they don't like how they look, so they'll redo it to try to make it look better. But there's some that are just brand new surgeries that they want to get this done, you know. But there are doctors, there's like 2 doctors, and one of them is like the repair doctor who helps people who don't like what they got from their old surgery and stuff like that. But how do you feel about stuff like that? Like people who...
I think, I believe like if you're going to put money into yourself, like, I mean, there's a fine line. Like if you're going to do a little cosmetic surgery or whatever, right? But I mean, if you're going to like overdo it, like that weird cat lady from New York, like she's famous and she looks like an alien, dude. Like I want to find a picture of her and send it to you guys.
I think she's in that Maze Runner movie, or no, the last Hunger Games movie. She's like, she helps them escape this capital or infiltrate the capital or some shit like that.
She like has like super deformed lips, eyes, cheekbones. Like she's like alien.
Yeah. Hey, if it lands you a fucking acting gig,
permanent makeup, dude. What's up?
Yeah, fuck shit. Permanent makeup, straight up. How do you feel about that?
I mean, you do whatever you want. I mean, I'm a humanitarian, so I believe in people being happy with whatever they want to do. Just,
Yeah, but besides that, like, how do you just feel like is it gross to you that like people add all these implants and stuff and like?
I mean, obviously they don't make good decisions.
Yeah.
For me, I think for men, it's ridiculous when they get like muscle implants. I mean, and it's not
Oh,
real
yeah,
muscle. They get like
that's
calf
what they-
implants, shoulder implants, chest. I'm like, well, there's no muscle in there. Like, what's
Yeah,
the point?
Like, I'm self-conscious about my fucking chicken legs, but I wouldn't go as far as implanting something to make them look bigger. Like, I just
Yeah, because there's no strength behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of weird.
Just
I don't know.
chicken cutlet in your leg.
yeah.
You know what I'm like fascinated and I'm like pretty obsessed with is like my 600-pound life, where like they go through gastric bypass and they have to lose weight before they can commit to it, and then they lose the weight and they are just like layers upon layers upon layers of just skin. I love watching those videos where they're like, just all right, we're gonna go ahead and remove this 40 pounds of fat off your stomach, and they just like start stapling them together, and then even then, like, I don't know, I think I'd rather be fat than
Ugly.
look like.
But I wonder how they feel like with like high blood
Like-
pressure and like, because that's a feeling, high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and just like I wouldn't want that feeling.
Well, I can tie both those conversations together because if we're talking about boils and this and like 600-pound life, there was this man who they thought he was massively overweight. Right? He had a huge gut. It ended up being a tumor. When they removed the 100 and some pound tumor, they found like the development of human eyes inside of it. They found teeth.
God.
They found hair. So like now that shit fascinates me.
This is not the Elephant Man, right?
No.
Have you heard of that guy?
Yeah. This guy was like, he was he
it
was heavy set, but he had a huge, his stomach was like enormous.
Was it like a twin that was that he kind of like did?
No,
Return of 8?
no,
It was just-
all that grew inside of the tumor.
Damn.
Like the tumor, like say it's like a gray little ball when they cut it open like a meatball. Inside they were finding the development of eyes. I mean, not connected to anything, just like the tissue, teeth, hair, like flesh, little tendons. Because like cancer just manipulates the DNA that's there, the genetic material.
But it didn't, like, when they removed it, it wasn't affecting his.
Well, his life improved. Like it was sucking everything out of him. The tumor was. So after they removed it, I think he had a normal life. I mean, he has like a massive scar on his stomach,
Yeah.
right? But
nature, you're scary.
Another
For
thing I
real.
like watching is like like, I guess speaking of 600-pound life, but like transformation videos of people who like they were like overweight, obese, and they become like fit and
Those
stuff.
are good, yeah.
And they talk about like they still have. I mean, you got to think about maybe decades, years and years of these people living a specific habitual way, and them having to break that
it's hard.
way of living and routine. It's fucking difficult, which is why a lot of people fail or aren't successful with changing their lifestyles and their habits and stuff, especially within the obese like type of people who deal with that type of shit, because they're just so used to eating something unhealthy or whatever it may be. So I like watching transformation videos and stuff like that.
I mean,
it's motivating.
Yeah.
it's kind of shitty, and you kind of mentioned earlier, but like videos of people dying, like where you can't see gory shit, but like just I don't know if you've seen the video that happened like a couple months ago, or a month ago really, where the people were at that gas pipe in Mexico, and like it just fucking lit on fire. So people were running away, just like on fire, and you could just hear the screams in the background. Like I don't take joy in like watching that kind of shit, but I'm just like I can't look away. Like no matter how much I try, I'm just like I have to see what happens. And I feel sick in my stomach, and I'm just like, oh fuck, people died. Like I'm not like oh yeah, that's fun, but it's still like the thing where I can't keep my eyes off it.
It's like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah. And it always catches me too, where I'm just like, I watch something and it's like, oh, is this guy gonna die? Yeah, he's fucking dead.
They were stealing all that gasoline, right?
Yeah.
And that's where there's debate in Mexico because the government wants those people want the government to pay them for all the hurt they got. But the government's like, you broke into a gas pipe and you stealing all the gasoline. So like, why do we want to reward you for that? And plus, the government lost tons of gasoline because of that. But
Yeah, my dad was talking about it. It was on. I don't know what it was on, but he was like, "Oh yeah, mijo, like all these people died and all this stuff." But we're not even knowing anything about it. I just heard that and I was like, "Yeah, people die every day." But those people those people got on the news. I mean, I was like, "Yeah, I feel bad for them," but I was just like, "What? Like people die all the time." And he's
Since
just
we're
like,
going
"No,
into
no."
a morbid like area right now, do you think that our news should be censored the way it is now, or do you think they should show like dead bodies and stuff like that, like they do in Mexico?
What I was
Dead bodies.
Yeah. What I was
believe
going to
so?
say is that, like, I mean, even in Mexico, that can be the agenda of the higher ups to portray a specific type of
To scare
image
people?
to the people. Yeah.
Because I remember like last year, maybe last spring break, a spring breaker went missing, and then they found his body a few days later. And on the Mexico news, they showed the body like inflated with all the water and stuff. Like the body, like somebody took a picture and sent it to the news people. And then here, they just showed a picture of the person, like this is what he looked like. And this guy passed away.
But they do that thing where like they show the body, but they kind of like blur the eyes.
Oh yeah. So like, do you think we should that our media should show stuff, or do you think it's fine the way it is?
Well, I mean, it's the kind of thing where like you can't they kind of like censor like sex stuff or whatever, but movies you can show people getting their like eyes blown out and stuff like that. But I think as far as the new stuff goes, if it's relevant to the story, then yeah, like see people down in a fire, you're not gonna show the people like burnt to a crisp because it's not relevant to the story. I mean, it is relevant because they died in the fire, but that's not the story. Like the story is that a fire happened because of whatever, arson or chemical thing or whatever. But you don't always have to show the people that died.
But also, I mean, like I said, the media is so fucking edited, and they can shoot an entire interviewing a citizen and edit how it's coming out from them so it tells a different story. So I mean, as far as that, like even just the footage of anything, whether it be like horrific or gory or not, I mean, fucking media is gonna be edited all the time. Like it's really fucking produced. And
yeah, and like they pushed that narrative during like when the war first started in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like they didn't show the caskets coming back from war because the less people saw, the more in favor they were of war. And like that was this whole debate during the Bush and Obama like years where just like, yeah, like they don't show caskets coming home like in the planes and all this other stuff because they don't want people to know how many people have died. But they show fucking footage of bomb runs and like American troops going through cities and towns and liberating the people and like them getting hugged by little kids and them giving them candy and shit like that. You know?
I saw this YouTuber also like trying to debunk like footage shown to the American people and stuff of like certain bombings on the other side of the world or whatever, that like he found like 4 different clips where like it was footage of a bombing from 2008 that they used in 2014. With literally the same footage. He showed the newsletter and the news article, and then he showed the video that they played, and it was like a compilation of different bombings, and then he found this clip, and then he found it again in another one from 2008 of a different a different time, but the same footage. And he was like, I mean, what can you even believe? You know what I mean? Like, what are they even showing us at this point? I mean,
yeah, and even during the Senate run for Ted Cruz, and I mean other people do it also, but this is just like the example that they gave because Ted Cruz, he shared a picture on Twitter, and it's like a picture taken from behind him, like towards the crowd, and the crowd was just like cheering and stuff, and it looked like a shitload of people. And then somebody like that was there, like another reporter covering it, he took a picture from like the back, and like the people were all just in a little square, like they had to stand in, so they can take the picture angled, so it could look like the room was filled, but it was just like a little square in the middle of the room,
like Fox with Trump.
Yeah.
Like Fox News does that. Like, oh, everyone was at the president's, speech, and it's like 80 people.
yeah.
But it makes it seem like it's a lot more just the way everything's are angled and stuff. But as far as like news stuff, like I think they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, like regardless. So it really doesn't matter if you can show bodies or not, to me at least.
But do you feel like they should?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because like even like on their website, like for the news, like they said, like the guy who drowned or whatever, or the shooting in Reynosa, 15 dead or whatever. They had pictures of the dead bodies in the street. Like,
I would say if it's done in taste, I think we as people need to see the truth. Like you know what, this person died and this is what happens. Like take care of your kids, like for example. So, I mean, with taste, but don't. Have you seen those Mexican magazines about death? Mm-hmm. Like with the car accidents, and you see like the person through the car with their heads in the back seat. Like maybe, maybe not that extreme, but do think we should show like that.
Yeah, I mean, because people seek it out. Like I'm saying, like there's people just put videos on Facebook or Reddit or YouTube sometimes, like a live leak of these like mutilations or like decapitations. And even back in the day, like that whole Faces of Death like series, or
I used to watch it.
Me too.
yeah, like that's
So cheesy now.
That shit came out because people wanted to see people die. You know, like it's not like a taboo thing. I mean, it is taboo, but you're gonna seek it out, even if you say you're not.
I only saw like I want to say like a 30 or 40 second clip of Faces of Death. It took me like 12 days to download off Kazaa back in the day. And I played it, and like the thumbnail was like this big on my screen, and I hit full screen. It was like, and it was like a Russian soldier getting his throat slit. And I was like, and you hear like, and I was like, oh shit. And then after that, I was like maybe 11 or 10 at the time.
Yeah, like shit like that. I remember seeing shit like that, and like all my like friends being into it, and like finding the websites that had all that crazy stuff. And like I remember watching it and just feeling like I don't want to watch this. Like I'm just like why? Like I just don't want to watch it. You know, like I know it exists even before this video. I don't want to have that. I still have the images in my head. I can still remember them. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't remember that.
But also, you guys remember that show 1,000 Ways to Die on Spike?
Oh,
yeah, that was great.
Okay, they both end up at the same conclusion. Like this is how the way people died, and one was just reenactments. The other one was just the real thing. So it's kind of the same thing of like once the newspaper not showing the bodies, the other one is the paper showing the bodies. Like you still know what is what just by them describing it and like seeing the recreation. So I don't think you necessarily need to show the bodies if you explain what happened. But it's still fun either way. Like it's just like this was like the 1,000 Ways to Die was just like a funny show. Like, oh, this person was trying to practice giving a blowjob, so they were like had a cucumber in their mouth and like they fell and like it shot up down the throat. Like it's stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think you necessarily need to show the bodies when
even like I don't know. Even now, is TV still the commercial medium, or is internet now bigger than TV, like social media and all that stuff? What do you think? Because if it's at that point, if you're just saying like showing death on TV, then I mean, what scope of people is on TV and what scope of people are just on their phone, internet? Like
I think internet's bigger now.
You know what I mean? So I guess on the internet you have not even to say the best of both worlds, but you have the option to
seek out whatever you want to see.
Yeah, and then TV being the neutral ground, where especially if it's a commercial thing in America, like I mean, depending on who's watching, I can see them just keeping it without the death. Like he said, yeah, you know the story. You know what's happening. You don't need it.
Okay.
This is the death portion of our Laugh and Death podcast.
Hey, yeah, exactly. We don't get on this side very.
Speaking of death and what needs to die, GameStop needs to fucking die.
Yes, they do. So I had an article here.
Please.
Let me pull it up. GameStop shares crater after the game retailer abandoned its plan to sell the company. So a couple of weeks ago, GameStop went public. They were trying to get bought by another company. Apparently it didn't happen. And so the board decided against selling the company, and they're going to try and restructure. So in the wake of them saying we're not going to get sold, their shares plummeted 27.2%. The stock decline amounted in a loss of more than $430 million in market capitalization. The stock hit a 52-week low at $11.11, but closed at $11.28. The company said that the board determined whether enough available funding on terms that would be acceptable to a prospective buyer. I don't know what the fuck that says.
What?
So yeah,
They found out they were worth $456 and 10% off their next purchase.
yes. No, but okay. So GameStop has a very weird spot in my heart.
yeah.
That's where I got my start in like management and just overall like for second real job that I ever had. And so I worked with them for 3.5 years. I made a lot of great friends. The people are honestly the best customers because it's like talking to like a friend. Everybody has the same common interest. Everybody's coming in. Some people are socially awkward, and some people are like normal guys like us.
But if you get them to open up about video games, it's just the thing they're there.
It could have been. It's like the hub for them to feel a part of something and feel okay with.
But on the darker side of it, GameStop is a blood-sucking company.
I've never heard a happy employee from there. Never.
Ever. They treat their people like shit. They underpay. They make their managers work 50 hours on salary, like with no overtime. And I remember getting I'm very happy where I'm at right now. And like I remember my friend getting promoted to the store manager position, and I was making a lot more money than he was, and he had 3 or 4 times more responsibility than I did. And they also run on bare inventory. Not inventory, but like bare labor. So they are always running on a skeleton crew. It's one person all day until 1 o'clock, and then somebody comes in at 5 o'clock. So there's 2-part coverage at night. That's what they run off of. 108 hours.
Yep.
A week, and they have to make 50 to 60 grand a week.
And the store manager works 50 plus.
50 plus hours a week. Yeah. And also their shrink. This is all because I worked for them. Like if you even hit like a certain percentage, it wasn't even like 1% shrink, you were terminated. If you were on duty and you lost something of value at the like on your watch and it was caught on camera, you're done. You're done. It doesn't matter how many years you've been with them. So
let me just ask this: was EB Games a part of?
They bought it,
GameStop
right?
bought them. Yeah,
GameStop
it used to be FuncoLand, and then FuncoLand turned to EB, and then GameStop had a better name, and GameStop did better than EB, and then GameStop bought EB.
You would think like I was saying earlier, they're like the strictly just video game store. Well, I mean, it was. I don't know if it. They sell all kinds of shit now or whatever. But you think it would be like the perfect fucking outlet store. Just like you think they would have a better business plan to be on top of that shit and dominate on that fucking level.
Well, that was the problem. The thing is, they were the only like good outlet, so everyone had to go to them for games, and that's why they took advantage of the trade-ins, and they would treat their staff like shit because they were making money hand over fist. Mm-hmm. And then digital downloads and like faster internet came along, so that's why they're suffering. And instead of changing, they're being stubborn. And this is happening.
So they're going the blockbuster model, just not adapting to the time.
Yeah,
it's not just that,
because
but
there's also a GameStop online, and can't you download from GameStop online?
I think you can.
You can buy a code and they email it to you, and you can use it to buy stuff online.
Even then, see, like,
why do that when you can go with your like say PlayStation Network or Xbox?
Maybe they should have partnered with Sony or Microsoft and make some type of plan with them, like to do.
Yeah, but it's not in the best interest of Microsoft or PlayStation, like
or GameStop is what it looks like.
I mean, it's just they're gonna have to leverage over GameStop, which I understand. Like, yeah, they might not go that route because PlayStation's like, okay, for every game you sell, we're gonna take 20% because we're selling it exclusively or with you or whatever. And yeah, I have the stories of like back in the day, GameStop was like great and awesome, and then they started focusing more on sales, and they're just like hire people off the street. They had no idea what they were talking about, and just so they can pay them less and sell more. Like they shifted away from like the community aspect of video games and knowing your shit, and like people can go in and be like, hey, how do you think about this game? It's like, oh, I played this game last night, it was pretty good, blah blah. To just like, do you want fucking warranty with this? Like,
so I want to know a personal customer experience that y'all have had with GameStop. I'll do mine first if y'all are down. I remember when I first bought my PS4 back in 2014, early 2014. I bought my PS4 the same day I bought Battlefield, the one before Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3. I don't remember which one it was.
Title for it.
I bought it $60, right? $59.99. And then like 2 months later, I was like, you know what? Like I want to get a different game, or I just don't want this game anymore. I'm done with it. Online, everything. I'm over it. I went back to GameStop. It was like 2 months later. My credit was $750 with it. And I was just like, what the fuck? And the guy was like, yeah, that's like the best I can do. And I'm like, $7.50. Like, I just bought this not even 2 months ago. Like, he's like, yeah. And I was just like, what? Like, that was like a personal experience. But I've had, since then, like, it wasn't that bad. But I've had, like, I knew I was lowballed and shit. You know what I mean? But what personal experiences have y'all had as customers at GameStop?
I guess the same. the same thing, but it's funny. I always end up talking to the person that's working, so I just hear how miserable they are there, and I feel bad for them. So I try to recruit them to where I work, or to apply at least. So like that's been my experience with GameStop lately. And honestly, with the Xbox One's release, I don't buy. I just download now. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too.
Yeah.
And then the game sharing is what I've
And
also
the game
been doing.
sharing, yeah.
So coming from the inside, looking out, when I worked for them, they controlled the depreciation of a game. So you could literally walk in, buy a game for $60, turn around, walk out the door, open the box, or take off the plastic wrap, bring it right back, and it's not a return, it's an exchange because I can't resell the game at new. So I'm only going to give you $30 for it. Like, it depreciated in half just so I can make $25 off your trade.
And then
Like-
they sell it for 55.
And they sell it for 55. Yeah. So they fucked over their customers way too much, where their customers said, you know what? Fuck you. Like,
Yep.
I'm bringing you something and you're going to flip it for twice the amount. Like, that was bullshit. Like, one thing that happened, because I haven't worked with them for over 10 years. And I went to a GameStop and I took 25 Xbox 360 games. This was right before the Xbox One. And obviously, a lot of the games depreciate in value. I know that some are like $10, $15. I was thinking like, 25 games, I'll probably get like $90, thinking that I still knew what was going on. No, they had some games that on my receipt, since I signed off on it, he was like, are you sure you want to trade in all these games? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's 25 games. He said, here, it's going to be $60. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. 25 games for $60. I started to do the math. I'm like, that's not right. Like, that can't be right. There was some games that I got like $10, $12 for, and the other ones I got a penny. They should have advised against me to give me a penny per game on certain games. Or I got like a quarter per game. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. And then I look in the store and they're selling it for $9.99. You know how much of a markup that is? Fuck you. That's the last time I ever went to GameStop.
That's the kind of market it was.
Fuck you. Yeah, so fuck that company. I'm glad that they're going under. It's a fucking Spencer's anyway.
yeah.
Like,
Pops.
it's all fucking pops and video game shit. And, like, I mean, I love video games. It's, like, my biggest passion in life.
Well,
like,
who was saying though that it's like a Pokestop, or like there's certain events you can do only at GameStops or whatever?
It's a Poke Center that you can go, and they have certain events that you can play Pokemon Go there and get, like, certain things.
But what do you think that was, just to drive in more traffic?
Yeah, they're trying to take advantage of more customers, trying to get them in the door. I mean, I had a lot of great memories with that company, and I had a lot of bad memories. And they hire the worst fucking managers. Like, I had a couple of great managers where I'm like, man, you know what? And it was a reason why we were number one in the fucking district, because we had legit managers. And then the fucking DM that came in, which I'm not going to mention his name, but that guy fucked everything up.
They have a history
going
of
forward.
horrible DMs, like horrible district managers.
Yeah. And, I tried to go back. I tried to get recruited back a few years ago. And the person, my contact to go back, was terminated on his day off. He got back from vacation, and they said, here, you have an hour to box up your desk. And he worked for HR in corporate in Houston. They said, here you go. Peace out. That's how they treat their fucking employees. They're cutting corners wherever they can save a dime, and it's all because of their fucking business model.
Yeah, and they're a Texas company. Like we're Texan, right? But don't have.
I didn't know
don't
that.
work for a company.
They're a
Texas
company.
No, they're Texas companies can do whatever they want. Whatever they want. We have no labor union. We can't even go on strike. Nothing like.
I'm kind of date the time period, but like, when I was working for them, this is when minimum wage went from $5.15 to $7.25, or it was like $6.15 or something like that. I was promoted from a game advisor to a senior game advisor, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna pay you $7.25 or $7.50." I'm like, oh, "Okay." The raises took effect during the Clinton administration, I think early Bush, and my associates were making, or the game advisors were making $7.25, and I was making $7.50 as a manager. And they put all the stress on me, saying like, you need to run the store. You need to make sure nothing gets shoplifted. You need to make sure you do this. You need to make sure you do that. Make sure you do this. And Make sure you get at least 3 or 4 pre-orders. Make sure you get so many subscriptions. If not, then we're gonna cut your hours, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like they had no support, nothing. They need a different, like, I don't know. They don't even have a fucking CEO right now. That's how fucked this stupid company is.
You just die.
Rip.
Because I mean, the way it's moving, right? Like the way video game consumption is moving, downloadable, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I mean, it's like I was saying, it's the dying of the CD, the disc of a game. Like
that hit me hard when the CD left. I was like, I got a car. There's no like CD drive. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I couldn't play my Cumbia King CDs anymore.
For real, dude. For real.
I need to, next time AB goes into the store, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to ask him to be on the fucking podcast. We're friends with AB Quintanilla. He comes in every once in a while.
I met him in Corpus. I was working in one of the Corpus stores, and he went in. And then he bought stuff and returned it like 20 minutes later. I'm like,
Really?
you son of a bitch.
Hey, no, we're so cool with you.
AB.
He's a cool guy. But I guess that wraps it up, guys. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of the Laugh and Death podcast. Check us out over at youtube.com/laughanddeath and over at our Instagram at Laugh and Death podcast. Manuel, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure to be here with all of you guys.
Our family, because we are going to take over the Game of Thrones episodes, and I'm really looking forward to working with you a little bit more.
Hey, I can't wait to come back. I had a blast, guys. Really.
Awesome.
It was
Thank
a
you so
great,
much.
great time.
We too, man.
Fernie, Alex, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye.
Peace.